What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Titletown Talk. I'm your host, Ian Ewing. Welcome to the show. I'm recording this on a Tuesday night, and I am exhausted. So I'm going to do my best to get through this coherently for you guys. We are going to have a packed episode today. We are going to review the Vikings game and preview the Lions game since we're on a short week. I was at the Vikings game, and guys, it was quite fun. I hadn't been to Lambeau since all the expansion and everything like that. I got to take my wife to her first Packers game and baptized her in the glory that is Green Bay fandom officially. It was a lot of fun. I know I talked to some of you guys after the game, got some messages from you, and it was a lot of fun. Definitely going to be a yearly thing where we go to at least one Packer game. I would like to go to two, but we'll see how budget fares next year and time as well. Let's start out by talking about the players of the game for the Packers against the Vikings and cruise through that real quick. We got to start with Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons, yet another baller game for the Packers superstar edge rusher. He completely wrecked shop on several occasions, and multiple times he actually beat Christian Darrisaw, which was something I didn't have on my bucket or my expectations list in this one. Darrisaw did end up leaving hurt, so obviously he's probably dealing with some sort of injury. But again, Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw it's a hell of a tackle tandem. So to see the Packers wreck shop against this offensive line felt pretty good, especially after what happened last week against the Giants. So Micah reached 10 sacks yet again, his fifth straight season. He had 2 sacks in this game, 4 pressures. It felt like there were a few more than that. Maybe it was just because the ones he did have were so impactful, but there was that one where he rushed up the middle and tackled their center, Ryan Kelly. That was a ton of fun to watch. There were just a lot of plays where, again, sometimes it's not what we see on the stat sheet with him. He was triple teamed several times. And this time, the other guys showed up. And let's talk about a few of those guys in our players of the game. Devontae Wyatt finally saw a bit of life from DY. After a couple of quiet weeks, he had 2 pressures in this one. But he did get 2 sacks. So that's definitely good. There was some argument as to whether or not his second sack was a safety. It was not. Remember, the players have to be moving backwards. They don't get credit for pushing them into the end zone. So that's why that was not a safety. Rashawn Gary finally saw some life from Rashawn Gary. He forced the first of J.J. McCarthy's picks. I do wonder if that's eventually going to be a sack fumble. If you guys watch it closely, it looks like McCarthy's arm is not going forward when the ball comes out. And McDuffie would have had a fumble recovery instead of an interception there. Regardless, doesn't matter. Still a turnover. Probably should be a sack fumble, but regardless, he had 4 pressures in the game. We saw some life from him. Like I said, he did well against the run as well a few times, and he, there was some conversation about him and his absence recently after last game, and I thought he did very well in this one, and he showed up. Hopefully we can get that this week against the Lions as well. He's typically played well against the Lions. Let's talk about Kamal Hadden and Carrington Valentine for a second. These Vikings receivers are very good. If you guys didn't know, Justin Jefferson's on this team. Jordan Addison, I think pretty highly of him as well. So I have to admit, it was fun to watch. And I will say, Carrington Valentine blew my mind in this one. He's on a heater right now. We'll go through CV's numbers here in a second over the past couple weeks, but 87 coverage snaps over the last 3 weeks. I guess we'll talk about him now. 10 targets, 2 receptions for just 15 yards. He's actually PFF's, at the time of recording, 6th highest greatest cornerback in the NFL this year. So again, I cannot stress to you guys enough how good he is. Obviously, I went into the season talking about Nate Hobbs being better than what we saw from Jair this last year. And, I had a feeling CV was going to be good too, but he is blowing my mind with how good he was. He literally shadowed Justin Jefferson in the second half. And obviously, we could talk about J.J. McCarthy and how bad he was, which we will in a minute. But, at any point, Justin Jefferson can break this game wide open. And he just didn't, straight up. And you have to give a ton of credit to Carrington Valentine. Kamal Hadden, I want to talk about him really quick. Keyshawn Nixon gets hurt with a stinger early on. And in the game, too, you couldn't really see what happened. You saw him sort of push Justin Jefferson out. I guess he ran into one of the Packers linemen on the sideline. That's where the stinger came from, which was interesting. I thought that Kamal Hadden played pretty damn well, all things considered. When you look at the All-22, nothing really jumped out at you, but he never really got beat by Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or Jalen Naylor, who's pretty good in his own right. Had a couple of really good run fits in this one. I was pretty damn impressed with what he did, and I was quite nervous. I thought we would see the Vikings target him a little bit, considering he's never really played, and I was really happy with what I saw. After the game, though, LaFleur, and he didn't have to say this, right? You got to keep that in mind. This is a post-game presser after a win. He certainly didn't have to give Kamal Hadden praise, but he said Kamal Hadden is the most improved player that he's seen in his time there. So since 2019, the biggest jump that he's seen from any single player in a season is Kamal Hadden. And that's really, really high praise. And it's encouraging because, again, this cornerback room is thin this year, obviously. But, they signed Nate Hobbs for 4 years. Unless he drastically turns around, he's not somebody they're going to have for 4 years. I think they're going to extend Carrington Valentine after next season, or maybe even at the end of this season. We'll see. And then Keyshawn Nixon's a free agent after next year too. So I do really like the way this cornerback room is shaping up the more we've kind of seen it this year. I think Carrington Valentine is the guy, though, that we've been waiting for to step up. And at this point, you can't pull him off the field. Emmanuel Wilson, can't say enough about him either. He ran insanely well in this game, especially seeing it live. We were kind of in the kitty corner to the goal line on the south end zone, I believe it was. And, you could see pretty much everything that was going on, but there were a couple plays where it looked like he was tackled in the backfield and then he just kept running. There was a lot of really, really fun stuff from Emmanuel Wilson in this one. He just kept moving his feet all game long every time he got hit. I was really, really impressed with that. But the big news out of this is that the offensive line just played better. In the other games this season where they've had a good running attack, it's been against kind of the poor performers, right? Like the Giants, the Steelers, Cowboys, right? That's when we've seen the run game work previously. It's been in some of those games. Probably not the Steelers, but the Giants for sure. And again, I just was really, really impressed with this. And I think part of it was from Anthony Belton. Finally played right guard in this game. I thought that was a huge, huge sign going forward. Guys, Anthony Belton is a guard. I don't know much about offensive line play, but the people that I trust, and from what I do know about what the guards should be able to do, that's what he should be doing. He's a guard. At the beginning of the season, right, we heard how they were not going to play him at guard. They were going to start him at tackle. And in my mind, I'm like, well, Jordan Morgan is the future left tackle, right? And I think we saw that he could do that, right? In the preseason, that's all he did was play left tackle, and he played very well. And that was against some starters, by the way. To say the least, and we'll save this conversation for a longer and another time in the offseason, but the offensive line next year is a major concern, and we need to be very concerned about it. Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton have to be good. Otherwise, this is going to be a massively royal problem. Now, granted, they still have their 2nd through 7th round picks in the draft. They could hit on someone. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But these two guys need to be good. And I think seeing Belton play guard and play well, by the way, I was really happy to see that. But back to Wilson. I didn't mean to get off tangent there. I thought you did a really nice job filling in for Josh Jacobs. Before I hear anyone say, and I already got a message about this, let's bench Josh Jacobs for Emmanuel Wilson or give Emmanuel Wilson more carries. I've definitely seen it on social media. The offensive line it looked better in this game. There's no other way to put it. And it's happening, by the way, at the perfect time. And I do think they need to give Emmanuel Wilson more carries. I don't think this knee injury of Josh Jacobs is just going to go away, to be honest. He's going to be dealing with it all season. I want to be very clear. I thought Emmanuel Wilson ran very well, and he should get more attempts, but he's still not better than Josh Jacobs. I'll just leave it at that. Marshawn Lloyd will probably be back at some point this season. It's a hell of a backfield. And I'm just going to put this one more prediction plug in here. I said it in the beginning of the season. I think that Josh Jacobs could be in his last season this year. And Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd and Chris Brooks, if they had to do a cap casualty cut, I could see Josh Jacobs going, and they'd be just fine without him. That doesn't mean I don't think Josh Jacobs is really good, because I do. Let's talk about Jordan Love really quick. Not a flashy game from Jordan, but he made some really, really big plays in this game, and he didn't make any mistakes. He had one turnover-worthy play from PFF. The reason he gets a game ball from me, or he's a player of the game for me, is because Brian Flores, the Vikings D coordinator, blitzed him 20 times. 20. So basically every time that Jordan dropped back to throw, outside of 4 or 5, Brian Flores blitzed him. And against the blitz, he was 6 for 9 for 65 yards. Didn't throw an interception, which was good. And again, when you get blitzed like that, that means there's less guys in coverage in the back end. And there were a lot of plays in this game where there were guys open, but the Packers couldn't block it up. But I thought Jordan, again, 6 for 9, 65 yards is pretty damn good against the blitz. Let's talk about Jordan on the season, though. His adjusted completion percentage, which, again, accounts for drops, and, sometimes it accounts for, like, passes that should have, again, stuff we might not consider drops on our end, but he has the second highest adjusted completion percentage in the NFL this season. Second, he's also PFF's fourth highest graded quarterback in general, only behind Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, and Dak Prescott. He has 18 big-time throws, which, again, big-time throws, PFF tracks these. These are like throws that are outstanding, right, that had a low completion percentage or the perfect throws. And he only has 11 turnover-worthy plays, which is less than Daniel Jones. I'm going to go through the guys here that are, again, 11 turnover-worthy plays is less than the following people. I'll just put it that way. Daniel Jones, who everyone's been glazing all year long, rightfully so. Patrick Mahomes has 16. Drake May, who's probably the MVP this season, has 13. Sam Darnold has 12. So does Dak, by the way. And there are other guys, too. Caleb Williams has more than him, too. I just want to we need to get rid of this whole Jordan Love is reckless thing. It needs to die. It is completely ridiculous. Anybody who says that either doesn't watch the games or they only watch the games where Jordan screws up. So I thought Jordan Love played very well in this game. It's not going to jump off the page, right? Not a crazy game, but I was really, really impressed with that. And I thought, again, he just continued to add to his really, really good season. Before we get into the Lions game, let's talk over the top 5 on offense from PFF for the Packers. Number 1 was Christian Watson, 82.5. Another good game for Watson. He made some, he had some really nice catches. Jordan got a little bit, if he had some more time to throw on a few of these guys, I'm telling you, Jordan would have had 2 touchdowns, Christian would have had 2 touchdowns in this one. He got open a ton. He just has a lot more wiggle this year. And again, there's been a lot of criticism on the way he runs his routes for being as athletic as he is. That doesn't always show up in his route running. It has this season. And it's crazy that he's coming off of a knee injury, a literal ACL tear, and he's doing all this. He's putting all this stuff on tape. I'm just really, really impressed with Christian Watson. Another good game. He's easily the highest graded receiver on this team right now. And by the end of the season, guys, I think he's going to get a full extension, not just the 1 year. Emmanuel Wilson, obviously, he was number 2, 72.2. We talked about him a lot. Just a lot of really, really good runs from Emmanuel Wilson. Tough runs. And again, I want to point out, too, if you guys watch the game, he just has a really quick burst. And that's something that he has in common with Josh Jacobs. Just really, really quick acceleration. And again, you saw it on several plays in this one. Just, again, I want to tip my cap to Emmanuel Wilson. Zach Tom was number 3. 69.2 grade, hit an 84 pass blocking grade. So in all the crazy blitzes that Flores threw at him, he played very, very well in this one. He did struggle a bit in run blocking, according to them. I don't have the grade in front of me, but that's why his grade wasn't higher. Run blocking struggled a bit. Dontavian Wicks was number 4, 68.2. I loved some of the stuff he did in this game. He got open a lot, even when he didn't get the ball. He had that insane run after catch. He caught the ball on the little leak route on the left side, and he got hit at like the 7, and he literally almost scored. Just drug 2 guys on him. Very, very impressive on that play. And then the all-out blitz where Eric Wilson snuck through the line and hit Jordan right away. Jordan threw it up, which, again, insane arm talent from Jordan that even got it there. But it was a high throw, and Wicks came down with the ball. Really, really impressive with what Wicks did. Number 5 was Josh Wiley, 67.6, the tight end. They obviously called him up when Tucker Kraft got hurt. I really like what I've seen from him. I think we might have something there in him. He played the most snaps at tight end outside of Fitzpatrick, and he run blocked well, and he had a pass blocking grade in the 70s. I think he had run blocking and pass blocking in the 70s. Really, really solid from Josh Wiley. His receiving grade wasn't so high. They didn't really target him. But again, I've been really impressed with what Josh Wiley has done. Again, the guy they brought up off the practice squad. Other notables really quick. Aaron Banks was good in this one again. Again, second straight week he was above average, right? Which, again, after the game we saw a couple weeks back against the Panthers, I thought that he played very well in this game. Really, really quick, Sean Ryan, the center. Really good run blocker in this one, but he had a 16 grade in pass blocking. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that. I think Rasheed Walker had a worse grade, and I forgot what game that was. Might have been the Eagles game. Brutal game from Sean Ryan from a pass blocking standpoint. I mean, that Eric Wilson play I was just referencing with Wicks, he let Eric Wilson come up the middle, just basically invited him in the backfield. So again, I do think Sean Ryan he can be a good center. I think he's been solid, but not in this game. Very poor game from him from a pass blocking standpoint. Let's go top 5 on defense. Number 1 was Isaiah McDuffie. I thought about putting him in my top in my game balls. Players of the game. There were a bunch of people I could have picked, to be honest, but he filled in for Quay Walker, had an 86.4 grade. The interception or fumble recovery or whatever it's going to be, that was insane. Just an insane diving catch on that one. And then he had this crazy hit stick play on TJ Hawkinson. I think that was the second quarter. You could literally hear it from where we were sitting. It was crazy. Just decked him. He had an 88 coverage grade, which is really good because Quay Walker struggles in coverage, by the way. And an 82 tackling grade, 58 against the run. I do think that, Quay Walker is better against the run than Isaiah McDuffie, but I'm starting to wonder if it's worth paying Quay Walker $15 million. And again, we'll have this discussion another time, but we have seen McDuffie play pretty well this year. I really like Tyron Hopper. I'm starting to wonder if it might be a bit of an overpay at this point to pay Quay Walker, but like I said, we'll revisit that another time. Great game for McDuffie. Number 2, Xavier McKinney, 70 coverage grade, 79 tackling grade. He did a great job, again, of covering up the back end in this one. He's just a complete eraser on the back end, guys. Just like last week, they were going to try to take the Packers deep a few times with Jalen Hyatt. He completely sealed it up. Him and Evan Williams right now. Evan Williams had a really good game, too. Had the interception in the fourth quarter to put the game away. McKinney, though, again, just completely erases that back end of the field. Nobody even tries to attempt deep balls. So I got to tip my cap to X again. Micah Parsons, number 3, 71.7, 74 pass rushing grade. The run grade was a bit rough in this one. He was in like the 50s, I think it was. But there were a couple of good reps that I liked. He just over pursued a few times. When I watched all 22, there was that Jordan Mason run, the long one in the second quarter. That was completely Micah's fault. I think that might have been why his grade was so low. But again, you didn't bring Micah Parsons in to be a run stuffer, right? Obviously, you wanted to play the run well, but he showed up big. He's a closer, right? 2 sacks in this one, deserved the grade. Edge Cooper, 70.4. He is the 4th overall player. 77 tackle grade. He showed up again in the tackling department. He was just really good in this one, just really solid. He's starting to round into shape a bit. I was really impressed with the way that he floated the ball in this one. There were a couple plays that could have been a lot bigger that he just shut down again because of his freaking speed. Just another good game from Edge Cooper. They really need him to turn up the heat a little bit here the final 6 games. And we saw that in this one, to say the least. Number 5, Javon Bullard, 68.7. 69 coverage grade for Javon Bullard. He held up really well, yet again, in coverage. He's doing a lot better in the slot in coverage than I expected. I still think when Hobbs comes back, Hobbs should be in there in the obvious passing downs. But he is really impressed me this season in what he's done in coverage. So Javon Bullard, he was also mic'd up in this game. You guys should go try to find that on the Packers.com Twitter page. It was outstanding. On defense, they ended up with 18 pressures, which is exactly what they needed to do, right? I want a quick shout out Warren Brinson, the rookie defensive tackle. He had 15 pass rushing snaps, not much. He had 5 pressures, which led the team. He had more than Micah, more than Rashawn Gary. Another strong showing from Warren Brinson. He's had a couple good games this season. I think that they might have something there in him. Maybe putting him in on some of those obvious passing situations. Overall, defense played very well in this one. I'm going to just add here to kind of close out the Vikings portion of the podcast. I'm going to pile on what other people have said. This was a dominant win on offense, defense, and special teams, honestly. And they really just, the biggest thing in this game, and we'll talk about the game plan in a second, but all they had to do was not make a mistake. I thought about putting J.J. McCarthy as the Packers player of the game because he was so bad. The only way the Vikings were going to win this game is if the Packers made mistakes, and I think that they figured it out pretty early. They did everything they could to avoid mistakes. Jordan really never put the ball in harm's way. Again, that one turnover-worthy play, you could argue you shouldn't have made that throw. I think it's probably true. But overall, I thought that the game plan in this one to run the ball, take the air out of the ball, to quote Matt LaFleur, was the right move. Brian Flores, like I said, he blitzed Jordan Love like a madman. And Jordan's got the bad shoulder. You don't want him to get hit or get hurt in this game even more just because, you got a game on Thursday. Your quarterback is hurt a little bit. This is not the game to air it out and put up 45 points. Now, if J.J. McCarthy was playing well in this game and they needed to run the score up, I truly think they could have. But why risk it? Why risk the injury? So, again, I don't want to bore you guys with the take, but it is true. The Packers lose that game if they screw up. So I like the fact that LaFleur took a bit of a conservative approach here, a softer approach, and then, thinking about the fact they play on Thursday, Jordan's injury, missing a lot of guys, it just made no sense to go in there and try to air it out in this game and score 45 points, right? They won easily, 23-6. By no means did it have to be any different than that. Every time that Jordan dropped back to throw in this game, the way that Flores was pressuring Jordan, it just made it, he was risking an injury right there. So, again, if the Vikings offense was competent, I truly believe LaFleur would have done something else. But again, I think it was just fine, the approach. Now, if he does that against the Lions this week, obviously then we're all fair to criticize to the nth degree, right? Quickly want to shout out special teams. Daniel Whelan punted the hell out of the ball. I got to say, too, never really noticing or paying attention to punts before. You could hear his punts in the whole stadium. That just made a loud-ass noise. His hang time is insane. And then the play of the game really was the fumble recovery on the punt. And Zane Anderson, I should have put him in the players of the game too, right? Whelan hits the ball, punts it, crazy punt. The returner lets it hit the ground. And Zane Anderson recognizes that the punt sort of went sideways. The returner's trying to avoid it, and he literally blocks the guy into the ball. And again, just a really, really heads-up play. If you guys watch it closely, that was all done on purpose, and it was really, really, really well executed. So I thought that was an insane play. That took them up 17-6. The game was over at that point. The Vikings were not going to score 11 points. They just weren't. So this is the win we've all been waiting for, where the game was really never in the balance. I said it to my wife as we were walking in. I was like, I want this game to be one where we can kind of leave early, get ahead of traffic, right? Leave prior to the game being over, and that's exactly what we did. We left with about 8 minutes left in the game. When they kicked that field goal to go ahead 23-6, I was like, they're not coming back from this. So we left. And it just felt really good to have a dominant win. And this is like I said last week in the podcast, this is when the season starts. So really, really exciting. All right, let's shift gears, do a quick preview of the Lions game. You guys are already tired of hearing me talk. I want to start out by saying the NFL is not Madden, right? We're watching real humans every Sunday, right? The Packers had an easy game. They allowed 146 yards. They basically were on the field for 20 minutes on offense, right? They sped that game up like crazy. The game was like 2.5 hours long total, and it was never in the balance, right? So they, I have to think, are not super tired. The Lions, on the other hand, they played a long-ass overtime game and nearly lost to the same Giants that the Packers beat last week, by the way. The Lions are probably going to be exhausted in this game, right? Probably beat up. The rest advantage far sways in the Packers' direction in this one. And, again, I know this is at home for the Lions, but like I said, these are not robots. These are humans. This isn't Madden. They're probably all a little bit debilitated from that game, despite the fact that they won. We'll touch on the players to watch in a minute. But let's look at the team overall really quick. Overall rankings and then DVOA. Offensively, the Lions are still a unit, right? They're second in points per game. They're third in rushing yards per game, eighth in passing, fourth in total yards per game on offense. So they're lighting it up again this year on offense, right? Without Ben Johnson. On defense, they've had a little bit of a tougher time. DVOA would not suggest that, by the way, but they're 12th in points allowed, 15th in passing yards allowed. Jameis Winston lit them up last week with B-teamer receivers, right? So this defense can be had. I really believe that. DVOA, though, 7th overall on offense. DVOA, 9th in passing, 7th in rushing. So, again, DVOA likes them a lot. Defensively, they're 6th overall, 4th in passing DVOA, 9th in rushing. So their DVOA for defense is actually higher than offense. And this was before the Giants game took effect. So maybe the Giants game knocked them a few pegs lower. Probably did. I'll say this. This is probably one of the most evenly matched games the Packers have played this season. And as dominant of a win as we had in week 1, it's not going to look like that on Thursday, no matter who wins. Could I be wrong? I hope the hell I'm wrong and we get another dominant win for the Packers. But I do think that the Lions, they found their stride on offense a bit. Defensively, they've looked a bit vulnerable, right? Jameis went God mode against them, which was a surprise. Their cornerbacks have been a pretty big liability overall. They're not really getting pressure consistently without blitzing. Kelvin Benjamin, their defensive coordinator, he has to scheme their pressure quite a bit. And Aiden Hutchinson, he gets his extension a few weeks back. He slowed way down. Just calling it like it is. He's still their highest graded player. He's got 68 pressures, right? But he hasn't had a PFF grade over 80 since week 7. And his pass rushing grade's not been good either. He's still getting pressures, right? He's still right up there with Micah in terms of overall pressures. But his win rate is much, much, much lower. Al-Qadim Muhammad is the other edge rusher on the team. He's got 36 pressures. He's really the only other guy that's actually getting pressure right now and winning. The blitz stuff they've been doing, though, with Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone is probably their biggest flex right now. And he's having an all-pro season, Jack Campbell is. He's a freak. Go watch him on tape. I would do anything to have him on this team. I love him. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. When they drafted him, I was kind of like, that's kind of high for a linebacker. I thought Quay Walker was too high, too, by the way. Jack Campbell's been very good this season. He's probably going to be an all-pro. Brian Branch, he's been really good this year again. Probably not near as good as last year, to be honest. And Kirby Joseph, their safety, he's out in this game. And I'm glad because he's one of the dirtiest players in the NFL. He tried to crush Tucker Kraft's knee. He's given a couple people knee injuries. He's not been good this season even when he has played. And again, I do think this is a vulnerable team on defense. I think the Packers match up pretty well on offense against the defense. You saw it in week 1. Their cornerbacks are definitely shaky. It looks like they're going to have, what's his name? Terran Arnold back in this game. DJ Reed just came back from injury. Amik Robertson's pretty good too, but I'm not super concerned about this secondary. Key number 1, protect Jordan, stop Aiden Hutchinson. It's that simple, right? Just like the first game, when Zach Tom came out, you thought, oh God, Hutchinson's going to wreck this game. He never did. I do think that Kelvin Benjamin is going to blitz a lot in this game, and I can promise you guys that Sean Ryan, I'm a bit nervous about him. He did not do well against the blitz last week. Despite how good he's been in the run game, Sean Ryan, he's not been picking up these blitzes well. So I do think that's something we got to be aware of. I think Jordan is going to, if he can have the time to throw in this game like he did in the first one, I think they can dice up this secondary. I like Wicks, Watson, and Golden if he's back in one-on-ones against these corners. I think Watson's speed was missing in the first game. There's a possibility that Jaden Reed will be back. Matt LaFleur did not shut it down this week. I think that would be insane. He would be on a snap count if he is. But I think Jaden Reed and Christian Watson together is a massive win. And I think that could really help this game. Key number 2, let Jordan win it. This game is not going to go well if you run the ball over and over again. Just being honest, this is not a game where you want to do what you did last week, right? You want to pass the ball, use play action to set up the run, not the other way around. And these linebackers, Anzalone and Campbell, I just mentioned how good they are. They're really, really good against the run. And just like in the first game, if they put Jordan in the back seat and try to run the ball, the Lions are going to stop it. That's not what they did in the first week, by the way, but they could not run the ball in that first game. Jordan has been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL in every single metric. We talked about it earlier. He still doesn't get half the respect that he should from local and national media. But these are the games that you pay $200 million for. You say, Jordan, go win this game. We need it. And we'll talk about the implications of this game after we finish. The biggest mismatch in this game, though, is the Packers receivers on the secondary, against the secondary. And it's not even close. You block it up, you give him time to throw, he will win this game for you. That simple. Keep an eye on Anthony Belton. That's my third key here. I don't think it's a coincidence that they started to run the ball last week when they put Belton inside. They took out Morgan. I've been trying to figure it out since the summer, like I said, why they haven't done the whole Belton at guard thing. I'll save you guys the continued rant on that. I do think that they should do a little bit more of that 6 offensive line look that they were doing with Kennard. We'll talk about that in a second. Offensively, we've seen a much better product since the Eagles game for the Packers. I think we continue to see it in this one. I think the season starts this week, or last week, started against the Vikings. They're 1-0 so far. The 2 things that have hampered them this season, the offensive line and the running game, both have looked better in the last 2 weeks. So I really think that if they can continue that into this game, that's going to be massive. Let's flip it over to the Lions on offense quick. Scariest player on this team from a Packers standpoint was Sam Laporta. He's out for the season. They still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got Jamison Williams. And since Dan Campbell took over play calling, which is interesting, by the way, Jamison Williams has been really good. He's a really, really good player. We're seeing his speed take over games at times. I'm much more worried about him one-on-one than anyone else, including St. Brown. If Nixon plays in this game, and even if he doesn't, I feel good about Haddon, but I do think they can bottle up this receiving core a little bit. But ultimately, the game is going to come down to Jahmyr Gibbs, as it has all season. He's the best running back in the game. He's the only guy at the running back position who can consistently win a game for you on one carry. He did it last week. Game-changing, dynamic player. Every word you could imagine. I think he's the offensive player of the year this year. He won't win it, but he means the most to their team outside of the quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Without Jahmyr Gibbs, this Lions team is not good on offense. They're fine. But Jahmyr Gibbs is their MVP. Their offensive line has been pretty up and down. The Eagles completely dominated them and killed them a couple weeks back. The Giants, they didn't do so well either, in that game. They did give up 14 pressures against the Giants. Penei Sewell still playing well. Taylor Decker is good at left tackle, of course. Tate Ratledge, their guard. We talked about him in the first game. I like him a lot. He's been pretty good this season too. It's still a formidable offense, right? And the biggest mismatch in the Lions' favor is Gibbs against the Packers' run defense. So that brings me to key number 1. Stop Jahmyr Gibbs. And this is why the Packers won in week 1. Gibbs and Montgomery did almost nothing in that game. The entire premise of the Lions' attack is establish the run, use play action, in-breakers and out-breakers on the route tree. And it works really, really well when they do it. They force you to bring a safety up to stop the run, and then there's less guys in the back end to protect against some of those routes, right? The Packers were able to get ahead early in that game last time, and that made it harder for the Lions to stick with the run, right? And that's, again, preview. That's exactly what they need to do in this game. Best way to limit Gibbs' production, get ahead on offense, right? At this point, he has to break. We don't want him to be the reason the Lions win this game. Simple as that. Key number 2, pressure Jared Goff. Again, both of these are super obvious, right? We heard Hafley say in the presser last week that he wants to see the offense get ahead so the Packers defense can do what they're paid to do, which is pin their ears back and rush the passer. And lo and behold, that's what happened, right? He said that if that happens, the offense gets ahead, we're going to see what we saw earlier in the season. And that's what we did. In that first Lions game, Micah got the best of Penei Sewell several times. And I do think that he can do it again, to be clear. He was really only kind of ramping up in the first week. If you guys remember, he was on a snap count. I have to imagine that the Lions are going to double team him way more than they did in week 1. I would hope. Well, I hope they don't, but if they're smart, they would. If I'm Hafley, though, I'm moving him around, putting him in the middle. And if there's a weak point on this Detroit offensive line, it's the interior, right? Their guards and center, not good. They're fine. We just have to get the other guys to step up. And in week 1, you saw it, guys. Devontae Wyatt had like 10 pressures. Rashawn Gary played well. LVN played well. Sounds like he might have hurt his foot a little bit more. I don't know if he's going to play in this game. I would not play him in this game. Someone else needs to step up, right? And we sort of saw that last week. Rashawn Gary, 4 pressures, sack fumble. That's right, I'm calling it a sack fumble. Devontae Wyatt with the 2 sacks. I think that if Jared Goff is pressured, you've seen it time and time again. When he has pressure on him, he's a completely different quarterback. And the Eagles proved that a few weeks ago. If you're the Packers, you're paying your defensive line a lot of money. You have a lot of draft equity and stock in that position. Go win the damn game. Go show it. Simple as that. Quick players to watch for the Packers. Christian Watson. Again, I can't stress to you guys enough how well he's playing. He's playing as good at receiver as we've seen since Devontae left. Straight up. I think we see his hot start continue. I think he makes a big play in this game. I think they're gonna try to go deep with him at least once in this game. Number 2, Warren Brinson. I know I mentioned it a bit before, but 5 pressures against the Vikings. I really want to see him in obvious passing downs. I think you could do a Brinson, Wyatt, Gary, Parsons offense or defensive line, and you could see some good stuff from that group. Kamal Haddon, we don't know if Nixon's going to play. He was limited today. I'm recording this on Tuesday. I think it's possible that he plays, but regardless, I think they're going to have him rotating with Haddon. It's a big, big week for Haddon. That whoever's playing that cornerback position is going to be very important. McKinney and Williams, Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, Do not let any explosives happen in this game. Make Jared Goff dink it, and dunk it a million times, right? You limit explosives against this team, you're going to fare a lot better, right? And last season, that's why they lost both these games. They gave up way too many big plays. So don't let that happen in this one. One other thing to watch, guys, the 6 offensive linemen looks. I mentioned it a bit earlier with Darian Kennard. They put him in. I think they had like 20 plays last week where they had Kennard in. We've seen a lot of success with that early on this season when they've done it. I want to see 3 receivers out, 6 offensive linemen, and then the running back in the backfield. I think that sounds super fun. They gained over 5 yards of play with the 6 offensive line look last week, and you can do a lot of stuff out of this look. And if you think back to the Eagles game, right, they had the deep play to Watson that would have been the go-ahead touchdown, but they had the alignment penalty. I know I'm still stuck on that. It still hurts really bad to even talk about it. I think there's some things they can do to build plays off of that. They could sneak out Kennard for a pass, potentially. They could, get maybe a whole drive with that look in. You bring in like the base defense, then you run Christian Watson deep. There's a ton of stuff you can do with it. I think they're probably going to keep running with that this season. Final thoughts in the game. When I did my predictions earlier in the season, I was convinced the Packers would probably lose this game. Having said that, the Lions are looking more and more vulnerable. The Packers are showing signs of a turnaround. The difference in these types of games, right? I think the way that both teams played last week, that's a big difference in this game. We see the Lions play a bit off brand in this one. We see the Packers start their ascent to the top of the NFC North. The Packers should be really, really hungry to win this game. Simple as that. We've been hearing it for several weeks now about them being a fraudulent team, the Lions still being the best team in the NFC North, all that. And to be fair, I think they are. I think that we'll see where it's at in a few weeks. But these guys, the Packers guys, hear this stuff, right? They watch some of this media stuff. I would hope that pisses them off, hearing that they're not as good as the Lions. And especially the way the Lions have handled them the last few seasons, right? Really since 2022. The only game the Packers have won was week 1 this week, and then the Thanksgiving game 2023. So I think that they should be really pissed off. They should come out with their hair on fire in this one. I hope they do. I think Jordan delivers an MVP type of performance in this one. I think the receivers step up big here. And I think the Packers defense continues to show improvement against a really good offense. I think it ends up being, I'm going to say 24-20 Packers in this one. I think we see a late Lions drive stop on 4th down to seal it for the Packers. I think they're going to win it. Couple things to talk about really quick before we wrap it. Per the New York Times, the Packers have an 83% chance of making the playoffs right now. If they win Thursday, it goes up to 94%. If they lose Thursday, it's still just 74. Not bad. So again, it's not like it's make or break on Thursday if they lose in terms of them making the playoffs. But if they lose Thursday, the chance of them winning the division goes to 31%. But if they win, 72%. So if you pick up this win, 94% chance to make the playoffs, 72% chance to win the division. So the elephant in the room here is the Bears, right? They're still at number 1. You got to tip your cap. I think that they're completely fraudulent in terms of being a Super Bowl contender. You can't discount the way they've played. They played well. The Packers are going to have to beat them, and they're going to have to beat the Lions. They're going to have to beat the Packers, right? In order for them to really prove that they belong. It starts this week, right? The Bears play the Eagles on Friday, on Black Friday. So if you guys want to do some scoreboard watching, that's a game we need to be watching. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. This was long, drawn out. I feel like I slurred my words a little bit because I'm exhausted, but I needed to get an episode out for all you guys. I hope you stayed till the end here. Massively appreciate everybody listening. Guys, 200 downloads the last 60 days. Massively appreciate it. Continue to keep downloading the podcast. Send in your questions, comments. Love to hear it. We can chat about Packers whenever. And I will be back probably this weekend, probably Saturday or Sunday, to review the game in full. Hopefully it's a Packers win. I think it will be. And like I said, appreciate you guys listening. Have a really, really good Thanksgiving. Hope you all enjoy it. Don't kill anyone on Black Friday. Be smart out there. And pray that we kill it at work, because I work in sales and it's Black Friday. So send the vibes. I will see you guys this weekend. In the meantime, go Pack Go.